Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today, we're going to do our daily commodity technical analysis update. I'll give you my financial opinion. We'll walk through the dollar, 10-year yield, 30-year yield, the precious metals, and all the other commodities that I follow. And I'll give you my opinions on it. So let's dive in. Let's start at the dollar DXY. The DXY is starting to slow down. Is this a reversal point? Tough to say. What I'm seeing here is I see a little wick at the top on last trading session, and we've got a small opening and closing price on the candlestick today. That usually indicates a slowing down and a potential turn. If you were to look at this from a short-term perspective, what you'll see is you'll start to see things like this develop where we start to slow down, come to a point, and break to the downside. It's only a possibility, does not mean that we'll for surely break to the downside, but things are slowing down. The rate of change is slowing down in the candlesticks. That usually is an indication of buyers equaling sellers, a slowdown occurs, and usually we head lower. But that doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes there's small little pauses that we get, and then the stock continues to rocket higher. But right now, you can see that we've had smaller opening and closing prices in all of these candlesticks as we've come up. That is an indication that things are slowing down, and it's a statistical probability that we could potentially turn. The 10-year yield continues its rapid pace higher. This guy is breaking out like no other. It is still going strong. And this month, we've had an increase in yields of 0.8% almost. That is a historic move higher in relationship to most of history. So we are moving up at rates and speeds far greater than we have in history for the 10-year yield. We've got bond prices tanking, absolutely tanking, as prices are an inverse relationship to yields. And remember, yields are pricing assets. So there's a correlation there. There's people who would prefer to buy bonds at a high yield, 4 or 5% yield, 4% or so right now on the 10-year. And bond prices fall in that environment. And we have another surge lower in prices and higher in yields. The TYX is also surging higher at a 3.5% pace. We are up around 3.83. Again, we've had a major breakout, and we are rocketing higher in yields. That will have an impact on the pricing of assets. And looking at the TYX to TNX, we are still compressing down. That is usually good for oil, the price of oil. But I know we're releasing strategic petroleum reserves. I know that we are going to eventually end that, and I'm sure the bond market knows that. We could be pricing in a big squeeze in oil in the future. That could potentially be what people are seeing out a few months from now. Difficult to say, but that's what we've got going on right now. The CRB index gaining a little bit of buying pressure today, not a ton. We got to see if we can get a little bit of a turn out of here. This is kind of an A, B, C correction wherever it ends up, and it could go lower. I'm not saying that this is necessarily done, that we've hit a bottom yet, but that's where we are, and we're dipping down just below the support line for the long-term trend. Gold also dipping a little bit below. Again, sometimes these guys like to put these false breakouts down. They get everybody to short gold, and then they reverse it on them and just tear them to pieces. I think that the market conditions are good for gold in the long term. In the short term, we're getting a lot of selling pressure. I don't see the turning point yet. Silver also right at support. We do have these two large candlestick sell-off days and a small up day today. Right on that support line. This support line's a mega line. It goes all the way back. This is the big boy support line. I feel comfortable buying around this support. That's me. But others, they like to see a little bit more momentum to the upside. Platinum also on long-term support. I like it down here quite a bit. And we're in these double, kind of this little pattern that we've got going on. And then we've got another bigger consolidation pattern that we've broken to the upside. I still think we're very early in that move. XEU to gold ratio, we're very low. We are still above the lows down here. And we have not broken the uptrend, or I should say the downtrend line. The downtrend line is this big guy here. We have not broken that yet. Going into GDX, GDX is right at support. And we'll see if this support holds. We're holding on right now. And then we also have SILJ also moving sideways. We do have support all in this general vicinity of where it's at. We have a major support line coming across at about 715 or so. Looking at crude oil was up today. We've got a major support level going across right underneath us at about $75. It's right around that area. We did move higher today. I don't know if this is necessarily a bottoming pattern. You could say that this is a bullish piercing pattern where the opening price opened below the closing price of yesterday, which it did, and it closed above the 50th percentile. What that basically means is we've broken a downtrend. If we look at it from this perspective, and we were to draw a downtrend line like this, it's broken that downtrend line and to the upside, and where we could break out and move on higher, kind of a falling wedge type pattern on a short-term basis. The short-term movements can be impacted by anything. Again, the short term is the least reliable. The big guy is where I would be looking, and we're right at that support level where we could see some support underneath us, $75. Natural gas still looks a little bit weak. I think we still could reach a little bit lower out of this guy before finding a bottom. I do think that bottom could be, well, let's put in a projection here. If this was the top of the head and this is the neckline, and we were to grab this guy and roll it down, it could go back down to the bottom here of about $5.30 or so. So we could still see further downside. I do not see a reversal candlestick yet, indicating that we're going to move on higher. So I would be planning on a $5.50, $5.30 price of MMBTU, and that would be a great entry point as we bottom in that general vicinity and start to turn higher. XOP, yeah, you know me, getting a little bit of buying pressure today. Again, we got to see if the buyers are in it for a little bit longer than just one day. It's not a reversal candlestick or anything like that. We still have a lot of momentum to the downside, and we got to work that momentum off. I still think this looks fantastic from a long-term perspective, staying above the support line of $106. Scrolling down to the energy service companies, we've got some buying pressure today. We still have a support level at about 190, and we're a little bit above it, but we've broken our other support levels above that. So that's where we are, and I think we're going to get some good support right at this general vicinity of where it's at, maybe a hair lower at about 180 to 190 range, and I think this is a big old pattern of a big lead-in pattern for a much bigger move higher for energy service companies. So we're coming up soon. Uranium, the futures pricing, this might be delayed by one day, but I used to use what's in here. Sideways action still looks great for a potential move higher. The Sprott Physical Uranium Trust, definitely getting some boost in it. I think this looks really good, actually. And going to the dailies, we're getting a nice good pop here. This is a bullish engulfing yesterday. I said we could pop higher here. We're popped higher, and we're right at that support resistance line right above it. So good move for uranium, the Sprott Physical Uranium Trust. And URNM is also finding support on that support line. So we're getting a bounce higher. It might take a little bit of sideways action before moving on up, but we've got support here. Let's see if the buyers can hold it. CCJ also indicating that it has some life in it. moving higher today. Again, we're still inside this gigantic pattern, and we still have that stubborn resistance at about $32. Going down to TAN. TAN's our ETF for solar. This thing still looks really good in my eyes. We're doing a retest. We're getting some buying pressure today, 2.11% higher. It's not a reversal candlestick, but we are doing that back test, retest type movement that I usually like to buy in this general vicinity for a long-term hold. COPX, this is the copper miners ETF. We have that inverted bearish flag pattern that we're breaking to the downside. I don't see any reversal candlesticks, although we had an up day. I still would be cautious here. I would be cautious because we can see, we'll get into the overall markets here soon. CRB to S&P 500 still outperforming, looks good to move higher. We've got rare earth metals ETF right on support. It's grinding up on it, bumping and grinding. We've got lithium trying to put in a little bit of support right where it's at. I don't see a reversal candlestick or anything like that yet, but that's also trying to find support. The S&P 500 is contracted right on this very low area. We very well could break to the downside here. So that's one thing that we want to watch. If we lose the S&P 500, it could drag everything with it. We're also looking at the U.S. Composite Index. It gapped higher in the morning, but came back down. The momentum's coming back down, and we're right at a key support level. We break this key support level to the downside, things could get pretty ugly. And with the increasing interest rates, if they don't slow down, I suspect that these could break to the downside very easily. It's a big headwind with the 10-year yield going up as fast as it is. EEM, we had a sideways dollar. We have a sideways EEM. Again, we're at long, kind of this support level of the long term. We're right on top of it. We do have a lot of momentum heading down into that support. We'll see if it breaks. Looking at XHB, XHB is continuing to head lower. It was an up day today, a very small up day, but this very well could follow the overall markets to the downside. That support level that I think we could potentially hit is about $48. Lumber looking a lot better today. We were up 5%. So that's coming down to that support level down here. We've got nickel heading a little bit lower today. Still doesn't look too bad. Cocoa futures right on support, getting that support right where it needs to. I think that looks really good. Wheat also heading a little bit higher, still looks good in my opinion. Soybeans, small down day. This still looks good to go higher. Nice big buying pressure, small selling pressure throughout. That usually resolves itself in an upward manner. Corn is still stair-stepping higher, still looks okay. And then copper, we want to watch to see if copper blows below 3.22. Very well could. The overall markets are going to be weak. I think energy will get stronger over time. I know that seems weird. And I'm going to bring someone on tomorrow so we can all listen to him about the fundamentals of oil. And I think he's going to come on and be very bullish. Moo's trying to find a bottom. I don't see a reversal candlestick. This is trading with the overall markets. We could see this head lower if it wants to head lower. If we go lower, the next support level is $69, a little bit away from where we are at. Looking at aluminum, aluminum is still looking a little bit weak. It is breaking to the downside, and further downside is expected with that type of movement and how much force we've got behind this. It is rocketing lower. There's going to be an opportunity, hopefully in the near term, where aluminum turns around. It'll be a really good price, but it's not there yet. And then the Baltic Dry Index is right at support resistance. We just chopping sideways, but the overall sector looked very strong today. That's what I've got for today, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the content. Overall, you know, I think uranium looks really good. In fact, let me go through something. I'm going to do an extra little spiel here on uranium at the end here. This is the, I'm noticing that uranium is putting in some pretty awesome candlesticks here. We've got nice, good buying pressure in relationship to XLE. That XLE URNM's an ETF of uranium. XLE's a ETF of oil and gas. This looks fantastic for an outperformance of uranium to the upside. So uranium looks really good there. Uranium versus natural gas looks good to outperform. So uranium looks great. URNM versus XOP looks good to outperform. So uranium there. URNM in relationship to platinum looks good to outperform. URNM against the NASDAQ looks good. URNM against commodities looks good for an outperformance. URNM against OIH looks good to outperform. And URNM against REMX looks good to outperform. And URNM against COPX looks good to outperform. Basically, URNM is about to outperform everything. That's what it still looks like. So uranium looks really good. And could there be more shift in whatever? It's possible. We could see more volatility depending on what the overall market does. But I will say, uranium looks really good in relationship to all the other assets. So that's where I think I'm going to position. I mean, that seems likely if I were to have money that I would be looking at the uranium sectors. If you guys want more delineation of where to play this, you can see how I'm playing it. You can go to the Platinum membership of findingvalue.com. You can see the companies that I'm buying. I have a midweek update tomorrow. And I'll give you an update. I'll go through the charts of all these different companies. I'll basically screen it for everyone, and I'll tell you the ones that I personally like the best and give you my opinions on it. We also have a Platinum question and answer session on the weekends. I haven't decided the exact timing of that. I'll put that on the website here shortly and figure out when I'll do that, either Saturday or Sunday. And that's what I've got for today, guys. So if you guys like the content, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the website if you'd like, and we'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.